I want to start today's video by saying that I was not very close friends with Daniel Naroditsky at all. He was one of the biggest inspirations of this channel, but we've only ever had a couple of conversations ever. So if you do want to send your well wishes to anyone, I highly recommend you send them to someone like Alexander Bortnyk, who I will leave a link in the description below. The reason that I'm making this video is because I have been following this situation for quite a while. This is a video that I made when Vladimir Kramnik falsely accused Czech Grandmaster David Navarra of cheating, which pushed him to the brink of suicide. That is not an exaggeration. That is exactly what happened. If you want to watch this video, it is up on my channel. I made a video when Vladimir Kramnik initially accused Daniel Naroditsky of cheating, where I defended Daniel Naroditsky. This was 11 months ago now. So this is not, I'm not making a video on this because everyone's talking about it. I'm making a video on this because I've made videos on it in the past, and I feel like it's important and not really a topic that a lot of people want to cover, especially this side of it. Of course, people want to send their best wishes to the people closest to Danya and things like that, but I think when it comes to this very negative side of it, a lot of people will refrain from touching on it. So yeah, I just wanted to make a video on this topic. For anyone interested, this is Daniel Naroditsky's last live stream, which will be referenced a lot throughout this video. I think it's important that this live stream is kept up and not hidden away. I think that it's more damaging if people speculate on what happened in this live stream without knowing for sure. It leads to wrong rumors, and people just beginning to make up things if they don't know what actually happened. So I think that this is very important that it stays up. A lot of people may think that it's distasteful because it shows Danya in a poor light, but I think it needs to be up for the reasons that I just listed. So we'll move on. The main thing that I wanted to talk about in today's video is the distasteful tweets from Vladimir Kramnik. Of course, if you want to go back and watch my previous videos on the Vladimir Kramnik situations where he has blindly accused people of cheating for a very long time, you can. I'm not going to cover that in today's video, but it just reached a point recently in the days leading up to the death of Daniel Naroditsky where I just wanted to talk about it, and I think you'll understand when I read these tweets. So he starts, this is October 19th, it's important to recognize that this was before Danya had passed. I think it was October. It's a little bit difficult for me to say because I live in Australia and we're a day ahead of America. So I'm not exactly sure when. I think most of these are before, and then I'll be able to tell you when it was after. So he says, weird. Noticed yesterday morning some people talking about strange recent stream of Naroditsky, but checking again in a few hours, many things erased. All videos from his Twitch, a thread about it, recognizable working style. Anyone, what happened that forced them to act in such a rush? He continues by saying, I saw people writing about seemingly being under substances. Didn't mention any nervous breakdown. Otherwise, wouldn't ask. So Daniel Naroditsky said himself that he had been taking Benadryl to get better sleep. This is the substances that Vladimir Kramnik is talking about. When I read this immediately, I thought it was a weird way to describe it, considering that Danya had told everyone what he was taking. It makes very little sense to say under substances. That this kind of insinuates that you don't believe that it was Benadryl, you think it was something else. On its own, it doesn't mean anything, but we'll read a couple of tweets time and I'll explain why that's important. So this is a rather unimportant tweet, but he goes on to say, it is not about our beliefs, but facts. If video is not erased, specialists could have said exactly what it is. Danya said exactly what it is, so I'm not really sure what the point of this sentence is. You don't need a specialist to say what it is when Danya said what it is. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Again, it kind of insinuates that Vladimir doesn't believe Danya. And then he said, because if substance, there must be consequences. If chess world has little dignity still. So this kind of just reinforces that idea that he doesn't believe that it was Benadryl. He thinks it was something else. When I first read this, I actually thought that maybe he was insinuating that Danya was abusing drugs in a not a prescription way, that he was abusing recreational drugs, and maybe he didn't like the fact that he was getting commentary roles whilst being under the influence. That's what I first thought. I didn't even think that he was accusing him of using performance-enhancing drugs. This person says, stimulants are enhancement drugs. He was not on stimulants. His symptoms, microsleeps, would be much more compatible with a depressant like alcohol or benzos, which makes you worse at chess. Not even something I considered. And you would assume that if this is not what Vladimir Kramnik was insinuating, he would disagree. He would say, that's not what I meant. He would disagree with it in some capacity, but he said, are you a doctor? So, this is very much indirectly agreeing with the fact that he thinks that Daniel Naroditsky was on some kind of performance-enhancing drugs to elevate his chess in some kind of way. I don't think the rest of this is too important. There is a bunch of this. He says, I think this is incredibly disrespectful as well. Putting friends in quotation marks is one of the most disrespectful things that you can do. He said his friends doing that anytime when it's about others, to start with the point here, if they were really friends, would have done something long ago to help him. There are serious and long-term issues, presumably. I hope he gets help, but unlikely managing with such, in quotations, friends. These were the same friends that came to his house while he was streaming and encouraged him for pretty much the last hour of his stream to end stream so he could take care of himself. So they were definitely, inserting themselves into Danya's life to try and help him. It's extremely disrespectful to suggest that they were not doing that. It's just a weird thing to say. I also really don't like this. This is just... I think people maybe don't even realize how bad this is. Insinuating years, there's no reason to think that this is going on for years. There's absolutely no reason that you would believe that this has been going on for any longer than a month. The only reason that you can assume that it's been going on for a month is because he didn't upload on his YouTube for a month. Years, I feel like this is... I don't want to stretch things, but it's making... It's almost like Vladimir is trying to reinforce all of his accusations over the years and saying, oh, he's been actually taking performance-enhancing drugs for years, and that's why all my accusations are actually correct. You can say that for sure, but it is just a very weird thing to say, to insinuate that this has been going on for multiple years, when realistically the signs only point towards it happening for a month or two. This is the end of this. We don't really need to read this. And then he said, all in all, typical nowadays world of chess. The only thing everyone cares about is looking great and pretending there are no issues, even if it's about long-term major problems. Stop this double-faced hypocrisies for once and try helping to solve them. Image is not everything. I don't want to talk about that too much. It's kind of just wrong. This would be correct if this was an ongoing issue. If this is something that Danya had been struggling with for multiple years and has not been able to reach a concrete resolution. However, it does very much seem that this is kind of a more recent thing, and maybe Danya hadn't even realized that he was struggling as much as he was. Again, there's a lot of speculation here. I don't want to talk about this too much. The comments clearly do not approve of his message, so we'll quickly move on. This was another super just gross, distasteful tweet. He said, seemingly conflicts with chess.com and freestyle chess, both kicking him out of commentator role, had a big impact on Naroditsky. How could you know that? Did he tell you that? The only fact that you have here is that he was removed from his commentary roles. You have no idea if that was an impact on him. I would actually argue it's the other way around, that Danya was struggling and he was unable to do these commentary roles. I don't understand why this is just trying to blame chess.com and freestyle chess, two people or two governing bodies that Vladimir Kramnik obviously has problems with, trying to demonize them and blame Danya's poor health on these two bodies. That's what this is doing. There is absolutely no way that you could come to the conclusion unless he literally told you that this had a big impact on him. It was most likely the other way around. He said, got the stream episodes. Not a doctor. Then why are we talking? I don't understand. You've just said you're not a doctor, but looks like something very else than sleeping pills. It doesn't. Obviously, I think a lot of people watching this video will not have watched the stream. It looked like he was just on sleeping pills. I mean, he had micro sleeps during stream. I don't know what else that would be a symptom of. I hope, if any, real friends of him will care. Another just disrespectful thing to the people that obviously did care, the people that were at his house, telling him to end stream because they cared about him. It's just an extremely distasteful string of tweets from Vladimir Kramnik. I want to move on. This, I believe, was after his passing. He is replying to himself. He said, "Too high a price paid, but if I was the only person shouting about obvious long-term problems of Danya becoming alarming, requiring urgent measures from people around, while friends only cared about hiding it and erase evidence, it's rotten to the core." Again, this whole friends in quotation mark is just so disgusting. He obviously had very, very good friends. If anyone has ever just kept up with Alexander Bortnyk specifically, I'm not really too sure about other people. I think Bortnyk is really the only one that I keep up with. He was obviously a very, very good friend to Danya. They were very close, and Danya considered him a very good friend. He was also not the only person shouting about obvious long-term problems. Everyone in Danya's chat was saying the same thing. His opponents were intentionally aborting games when they were playing Danya because they didn't want to play him. They wanted him to end stream. Everyone was saying these things. They just wanted the best for Danya. So I don't know why he's putting himself on this pedestal like he is the only sane person, he is the only human in the world, when that is obviously not the case. And there is this funny little context thing that X has now. Vladimir spent the last year publicly posting about US chess player Daniel Naroditsky with baseless claims of cheating, which he did do. We'll go to the next tweet, which is actually pinned to Vladimir Kramnik's profile, where he says, we'll read this first. This is a message from one of his viewers, he says. So this on the left is not not Vladimir saying. He said, "Danya streaming. Looks like he is on some serious drugs. Quite worried chess mafia is dangerous." Now, just because Vladimir didn't say this doesn't mean this isn't what he agrees with, because it's, if I get a DM on Instagram with someone saying something ridiculous, I'm not going to post it to my Twitter or to any of my other socials agreeing with it. So just because he didn't say it doesn't mean he doesn't mean it. This is weird, this last one. Chess mafia is dangerous. I don't know if that's suggesting that the chess mafia, obviously, for people that don't know, is kind of like chess.com, all of the big influential bodies within chess, people call the chess mafia. I don't know, chess mafia is dangerous. Is that insinuating that he was assassinated? I don't know what that means. It's just a weird thing to agree with. And then again, looks like he is on some serious drugs. Why are we not just saying Benadryl like Danya said he was on? That's the most likely thing. And he said, "What exactly happened? Because I received this 2 days ago from a friend of mine, a friend of mine, chess fan, and at least did what I could to warn people to do something urgently in my post. To those who prefer blaming and shaming instead of helping, awful tragedy, hope properly investigated." Just another kind of weird thing that he said, and it's also pinned to his Twitter. I don't know. This is just also distasteful. I want to move on to something. We'll read this first, and then I'll kind of give some thoughts on it. FIDE said they're going to establish a special prize in memory of Grandmaster Naroditsky. I think there's this is good. Like something in memory of Daniel Naroditsky is just obviously a positive thing. But I think there's more that needs to be done here, especially regarding Vladimir Kramnik. I think that this just cannot go on. I think whilst it's irresponsible for me to suggest that Danya's passing was directly influenced by Vladimir Kramnik, I think that's an irresponsible thing to say because I don't know. But at the very, very least, I can tell you with 100% certainty that the last year of Danya's life was made a lot more difficult than it needed to be because of Vladimir Kramnik. This is the last year that he had on Earth as a human, and I think it's such a terrible, terrible thing to inflict upon another person. The amount of hate that Danya would have gotten because of Vladimir's accusations. I think that more needs to be done here by FIDE. I don't know exactly what measures you can take. I think, first of all, stripping World Championship titles and Grandmaster titles is not out of the question. I know people will think that they're two completely unrelated things, but I think at a certain point you have to realize that FIDE is not the police, they are not the law, but they can do things that will prevent this from happening in the future. And I think that's the main thing. I think that no matter what the solution is from anyone, I think that the main goal should be to prevent this from ever happening again. And the situation did happen with David Navarre, and it happened again, and it will keep happening again if nothing is done about it. And maybe stripping Grandmaster titles, stripping World Championship titles is not the correct way to go about all of this. But I think something has to be done. I think that something has to be done, and I think that this is it would be a disservice to the life of Daniel Naroditsky if we just moved on, we just remembered him as a great person, and didn't bother to kind of prevent it from happening again. So I think something absolutely does need to be done. I think there is a lot of responsibility on FIDE right now to do something about this situation. I said at the beginning of this video that if you want to send your well wishes to anyone, you should send them to Alexander Bortnyk. There's obviously a lot more people that you should be sending your well wishes to. I think just to anyone in your life as well, asking them how they're doing and making sure that they're okay. It's like a very small thing that you can do with your time to make a positive impact on the world. I wanted to show this video. I'm not going to watch it in this video because I'll just end up crying again. It's very difficult to watch, but I think it's important that you see how something like this can affect the people closest, because this is just such a heartbreaking kind of situation, and there are a lot of people that are majorly affected by it. So I wanted to end the video by playing this, and I really recommend that you all go show your love and support for people that are closest affected by this situation. And yeah, I'll leave you guys on this video.
Just what I saw. Yeah, that was like at 2 a.m. and he said, "Oh, happy birthday, Sasha." I said, "Yeah, thank you." And I said, last words, what I said to him, I mean, personally, said, "Danya, don't worry about anything. Love you so much. And you are just the best. I'm happy." Actually, my last words was sportively.